All right. Hello, guys.
Hello,
Hello.
guys.
Uh, hello, and girls and
Hello.
everyone. It's nice to see you all. Yeah, we're doing a new Hot Topics talk, and it's a special this time because we have a guest. It's Runa, right? Runa. Do
The
I
real
pronounce it
Runa,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
The
yeah,
real
yeah.
Runa. Yeah, the one and only. Cool. So, yeah, just to quickly explain a bit why you're here. We were scrolling through the magical realms of the algorithms on Instagram threads,
Yeah,
and yeah, we basically ran into a thread of yours that asked about how we can defeat and fight ageism in specifically music. But I
yeah,
think it can be relevant for the whole creative industry, maybe in some way.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, just to get started, maybe you can like tell a little bit about yourself in short, and yeah, so that we know
Okay,
who we're dealing with. Yeah.
okay. So I'm Runa, and I'm a singer songwriter, and I've been doing it for almost 3 years now. But I don't have like any background in music or anything. I didn't study music in school. Actually, went to architecture school and did interior design and graphic design for maybe over 10 years or something like that.
Mm.
Actually, also did a bit of photography, and I also have a photo studio. I forgot to
Hmm.
mention that, yeah. And
Quite creative. Yeah.
Nice.
and yeah, uh, and about 3 years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and we did a silly challenge where we dared each other to record ourselves while singing.
Mm.
And I realized I actually enjoyed it a lot, and it brought up a lot of memories from my childhood because I used to sing in when I was a kid. And then I like tried to write my own song because I had this curiosity and like desire to make my own music.
Cool.
And then I actually then joined a Discord server for singer songwriters, and I met a lot of people like myself there who were also like either in bands or just beginning to write music, and they kind of encouraged me to go forward with it. Actually, I don't think I would have like um, trusted myself enough to keep
Mm.
doing it if there wasn't for
Just the cheering
someone
on that.
else's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had their support, so that actually really helped
Mm.
because it
Yeah, that's
felt
nice.
like
If
a small community.
Wow.
yeah.
That's cool. I heard that more about Discord groups and stuff. That is quite supportive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really cool. And how did you come up with posting this specific thread? Do you remember what you wrote still?
Yeah, actually, I do. I
All right.
actually, there were a few talks on the Discord server as well about ageism
Mm.
because some of them were like, there was a guy who I used to talk a lot about this. He was, I guess, 45, and he's been in a band like in his when he was younger, and then he just gave up music for a while. Then he started like songwriting and doing that like on his own and starting to play on his guitar. And he was like, his opinion was basically that if you're not doing it when you're in your 20s or when you're a teenager,
Mm.
you basically have no shot at it. Like that's what he used to say always.
Mm.
But he didn't mean it like in a mean way or anything
Yeah.
like that. He was just trying to like not get anybody's hopes up, you
Yeah.
know like you
Yeah.
should be reserved and not have like great expectations when you're starting
Yeah.
in your 30s or 40s or stuff like that, because you probably aren't gonna blow up or
Yeah.
you know
And I can imagine it kept him like happy, like with how do you say this? Like maybe he was very aware then of creating it for fun instead of expecting
yeah,
himself to
yeah,
really
he
make
was
it
just
still.
doing it because he enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
he was just trying to like, you should write music because you're enjoying it, not because you're pushing yourself to like have this end goal of becoming, I don't know, famous or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
And
an interesting. I think I saw that quite a lot on your thread as well in the responses that it was very varied between like you should never think about the money side, you should just create and things like that. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
we'll run into that if we go through the comments that were there indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, you
Yeah,
basically
and
just put the question out on threads then that you formed a bit
yeah,
in the
and also
Discord.
I attended like a music conference last year here in Bucharest. It's called like Mastering the Music Business, and it's a place where a lot of people from music industry come, and they have like talks, and there's also a series of concerts and stuff like that, and some workshops on songwriting. And there were a lot of people there from radio and people who organize festivals, and also people from labels and other stuff like that, and a lot of artists like myself that are just starting out or that have
Yeah.
been doing it on their own. And I met an artist who was in her 20s. She was maybe 26. And she's been doing it since she was very, very young, maybe 10 years. I mean, she's been doing it for 10 years. And we were just exchanging like experiences, and she was asking me how I started to write music, and I was, maybe complaining a bit about how my family hasn't been very supportive, or like they don't understand because I have two kids, and they think basically music is maybe not like a good use of my time or something.
Yeah.
And she was like,
You had a
"Oh,
career already. Yeah.
that's like really rough. Like you should be
Yeah.
doing something
Yeah.
else." And she was like, "Oh, that's rough. I get it when people around you aren't that supportive." And there's also this thing, about ageism, like in this music industry. And I was like, "Oh, okay." I hadn't even considered that. I mean, I had heard of it, but I
Yeah.
hadn't necessarily, thought of it like, how does it affect me, or
Yeah.
how could it affect me? I just, I never gave it a thought before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Interesting. And that then started like your
Yeah, I
mind
just
going
started
over it,
thinking,
like, all
yeah,
right,
it
how can
was
I find
somewhere
this
in the
out?
back of my mind, because
Yeah.
also all the talks on Discord, and, people saying how, after a certain age, it's much, much difficult to actually break through and
Yeah.
make yourself, known.
Yeah.
Because labels usually, let's be honest, they usually search for very young musicians, like before they're even 20.
Yeah, I think
That's,
especially the bigger labels are set up in a way that they would like to sign you for a very long time or a lot of records, and from that perspective, it kind of makes sense that they want to sign talent that's young
yeah,
because
as far
then they
as,
can,
yeah, yeah.
get a lot, literally like a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
production out of them. It's a lot of
Yeah,
product that
that's
they can
true.
deliver. But it's good to see that there is, in my opinion at least, a trend of a lot of independent releasing artists in general, but
Yeah.
also a lot of more indie labels that more like to sign on a single or album basis, or like maybe two singles or an EP or something, and then that's the deal. And I think that opens opportunities. I think it's definitely a good movement in that sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting thing. So you put up on the threads then, like basically you wanted to find out more on the topic, is how I read it, at least how I saw it. Like I want to hear
Yeah,
from artists who started to do
I
that.
just want, I was actually, I think I was looking maybe for a bit like uh, confirmation that, there's still people out there who have managed to move past it.
You were looking for
And
a bit of hope. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I was searching for some encouragement,
Yeah.
from
Yeah, fair
just
enough.
by
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah.
And I think actually people really like related to it, because they were obviously, there were a lot of people who responded, and they were very happy to find this thread, which
Yeah.
really, like, I was surprised.
Yeah, I wanted to
And
ask, like, how did you find the reactions then? Did you find what you hoped for in
Yeah,
there?
yeah. I mean, there were a lot of stories with people who were. I mean, not necessarily, like a lot of people who have been very, very successful at it, but there are a lot of people who made it possible for them to keep creating music and also doing gigs. I mean, even though
Yeah.
some struggle with family, like they also like have kids, or it's
Yeah.
increasingly more difficult when you have your own family to pursue a music, I don't know,
Yeah.
let's say
Yeah, I can
career.
imagine.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, definitely. Because
um,
I think you mentioned that you are doing it for 3 years now, but you're not
yeah,
like 34 now. So it's a topic that actually plays, right? It's like you
yeah,
started
yeah,
after your 30s, so to say.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you put the
must. I
border in
mean,
your thread at 30, right? So is that the
yeah,
border for
yeah.
you, like that you feel, or that things
Yeah,
change in that?
that's the kind of thing that I've been hearing, that, if you don't make it by the time that you're 30,
Mm,
most of the people think that you should either like give up or not try or stuff like that.
yeah. And do you
Yeah.
do you feel that what was your opinion on that before you shared the thread? Like, did you really experience that as well? And did the thread change your opinion on that?
Mm, like I said, I don't know that many people myself in the music industry, so I
Mm.
haven't had that many interactions with them. Like,
Yeah,
so it's not necessarily that I have experienced it, but I've been talking about this topic with other independent artists
yeah,
online, and they've told me like what their experience was and what their take on it was, like
mm,
how they saw things and stuff like that. But
yeah,
even my friend that is like in his 40s, he was still like encouraging me. Like, he wasn't like necessarily he was still saying, like, you're not that old, like, and even if you were, you should still like pursue it if that's what you want to do, like,
yeah,
age should not be like a limit for you. And
yeah,
I'm trying to like see it that way. Actually, I don't know. It's not like I'm gonna stop just because I'm over 30s. because
no, you're just getting started.
because
Yeah,
I'm actually enjoying it. So it's just like it's actually like a form of, I don't know. It's like an outlet for me.
yeah,
So it's really good for my mental health to be doing it.
yeah. That's like a big plus already. But you are kind of yeah, like you're pretty seriously thinking about, okay, but what struggles might be in my way to make this grow further. So you're definitely approaching it now more in a way than you would always do it because it helps you, but you're also approaching it in
Yeah.
a way of like, okay, but how can I make this grow, right? That's what I hear from it.
Yeah, maybe I was looking for a bit of encouragement, yeah, on
Yeah.
like just to allow myself to pursue it further.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I mean, it sounds like you're serious about it and that you found like you want to do more with it. And I think that on its own is already great, right? That you can um, find out something new in a new phase of life that you find super interesting and that you feel like a lot of passion for and that you want to make that grow further.
Yeah.
I think that on
Yeah.
its own is already like super great to experience. I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Cool. So you selected a bunch of yeah, of like reactions
Yeah.
that you found interesting or that stood out for you. So I think I'll just open them and then I can share my screen and then we can like maybe just talk a bit through them, see what they meant for you and why you found them interesting, things like that. Let me open that up. So I think we should now be able to see this.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
I see it.
Cool. So this is a reaction from Dust We Are Music. He said, I released my first album on my 30th birthday. My dad plays bass in the band and he didn't start playing until his 50s. You
Yeah.
recently found a drummer and are begging to reverse to play live. I can't imagine not playing or not making music with him. It's never too late, and once you start, it can become about so much more than just music. Cool.
Yeah.
Why did you pick this one? What stands out in
It
this
actually it actually wasn't like I picked that one because there was another one similar to it. Like there are a
one?
few people who are starting doing music with their dads. And I
That's
thought
cool.
that was and I thought that was like really, really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome.
that's
And
awesome.
because it was also like being very inclusive, like because their dads obviously are further along, you know, like in their 50s or older, and they're wanting to create and do music. And I think it's just like it was like very, I don't know, wholesome and
Yeah.
cool that they included their dads and that they were able to like make something beautiful together, something they both could enjoy. It was like a bonding experience for them. So
Yeah. It sometimes brings me back, like those kind of things bring me back to the origin of music in general, what it meant or still means like culturally for people, and that it's still like this form of connection, and that's just really good to see and hear sometimes, because I feel that sometimes it's just, oh yeah, you're making music, you have to do this social game, you have to do it like this is the way, you have to check all these boxes, and then, you know, and I feel like these kind of things really make you, in a lot of places, luckily in the world, it's still like that, but the whole thing that you see is so much like, this is how it's supposed to be, if you get what I mean.
yeah.
Like the cultural exchange of music, if you go back, or what still is happening probably in tribes or communities living somewhere, that the music is centering, like the community is centering around the music, and it's connecting people in that way. So that's very cool. And with family, that's like also really cool, really interesting. So we have another one here. Matsreya. You can't really truly be a great writer till you're about 30. Ageism is perpetrated by the labels. Don't make it a thing and it won't matter. Ah.
Yeah, I just thought it was like interesting because I've heard something similar being said by some of the people that I've been interacting with. Not necessarily that you can't make any, that you can't be a great writer until you're 30, but they were saying that after you've been doing it for a while, or when you're a bit older, that you're in this like more mature place where you are more aware of the things that you like with music. So you're somewhat, you have like a clear picture of where you are trying to go with it, you know, because a lot
Yeah.
of people when they're young, they don't really know like how to approach it, or if they're or if they want to be like songwriters, they don't really know what to write about, or they don't have the experience for it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you've been through like a certain stage of your life and you've experienced something, maybe, I don't know, maybe on the emotional side, or maybe just like life experiences, there's a lot more that you have to say, you know, with your
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of life experience that you can put in your music or something.
Yeah. I can imagine that. Yeah. I mean, I think it's very impressive, like as a younger person, to maybe do that and also touch people, like
Yeah,
making
it
the,
is.
how do
It
you say it,
is.
the emotions
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
like making
If
people
you're a young
feel
person
it.
and you get people to connect with your music,
Yeah.
it's very, very special for
Yeah,
sure.
but I think there might be a valid point in here that if at least even if I just look at myself, like I feel that I am way more aware of what I want, what my values are, things like that, than, I don't know, 10
Yeah.
or 20 years ago. I learned so much in my 20s, and it's such a decade of evolution, and I hope it will never change, that I just
So
discover new things
for
every
how
decade.
long have you been doing music? How'd you start?
Well, quite a while. Like I started playing the guitar when I was 7 or 8 as a kid, and then
Wow.
I played, and I also played multiple bands until I was like 21 or something, and then I had a bit of a rough personal lifetime where the bands fell apart, and I was always convinced like, yeah, I don't need school, I'm just gonna tour the world with my bands. I was very confident, to frame it like that. And then like I had two bands that I played at the same time, both fell apart when I was like 20 or something, or like maybe even 90 or something. And I was like, oh, this is the end. It's true what people say, you can't live from music. Very dramatic. And I had a bit of a rough time.
You felt very discouraged.
Yeah, and I put my guitar away for quite a while. And I thought that I should go for a life with studying and working hard and all that. And yeah, to be able to live after that. Very overreacted, but yeah, that's what happened within me then. And then actually at some point I missed the music part, but I was too busy, and I don't know, maybe I didn't find the trust in like forming a band again or something. So then I jumped over to electronic music, and I've been doing that for 5-6 years, I think.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Because then you can create when you feel the flow, when no one else can say something about it. But I recently had more of a vibe of like, oh, maybe I would really love when I'm settling somewhere. I'm a bit on the road now, but when I'm settling somewhere, I would really love to maybe find people that just want to make music and maybe form a band again or something. So it's funny how that turns around. But yeah, I'm definitely.
So you've experienced it from very different angles and in different like stages of your life. So
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. But I think, therefore, I just love the question because I see so much beauty in if you're older and you can reinvent yourself in some way and find a new thing that you really love, that you feel so much fire for, that you really want to pursue it and make it grow. Not per se for an overthought reason, but because it brings so much energy, if you get what I mean. So yeah, I really love that. Yeah, my mom picked up djembe playing when she was 60, so I really love that. And then she's drumming around and she's like smiling, and then this woohoo comes out when she's drumming with those other mostly ladies in the 60s. Yeah, it's a vibe. yeah. So that's why I loved your question as well. But it's an interesting point. Yeah, and as Harry, you also been making like music quite a while already, but you're also over 30s. So how do you feel about all this?
a long time ago, that I started. But yeah, it's funny that you like just talked about your story, because when you were just starting with electronic music 7 years ago, that's exactly when we met. And through some friends of ours, and then you just started making doing like DJing and doing electronic music, and I was already, I think, doing it for like 5 or 6 years then.
True. You learned how to DJ, basically. You were the first mentor. I was at your DJ set. True.
True, at my place. And then I don't know, I started like doing electronic music around 2010, so I'm already doing it for like 13 or 14 years around that time. And before that I played in a metal band and in a punk band, guitar. So I think I started playing guitar around age of 15, so yeah. I don't know, a long time ago, like 15 years ago or something.
Yeah. But how...
That's a lot of time that you spent with music.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking about, like... I'm just thinking, like... For you, would it matter if you didn't had all that? Imagine just that you didn't had all those years before, but you found the passion now, like the Real Runna has. Like, how... Then I can imagine this is quite overwhelming, because you hear a lot of people that are in it the whole life. So I don't know, you don't want it to be demotivating, if you get what I mean.
For me, for my, it's like I can't imagine my life without like listening or just making music. For me, it's like when I hear music, it's like, oh, I hear what they the vocalist does, or the drums does, or the guitar, and other people listen different to music, but I can't I can't imagine how it's without like thinking and doing this. So it's weird.
You appreciate music differently because you're hearing like all the work that's behind the track.
Yeah. All the practicing and I don't know, everything.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say that maybe it's even nicer to not have that much experience, but now find out that you really want to find this, because I sometimes miss the early stages of getting involved with music. Then it's way more about the feeling of it instead of the technical stuff, like the technical overthinking.
I see
that as well. That is one thing that is a little bit true about like the around 30 mark. When I compare myself now and when like, I don't know, 15 years ago, I didn't think about anything. I was just like making music and don't overthinking and just go with the flow and just make what comes out. But now it's a little bit like, oh, I've made this song. Do I want to post it online? Is it still what I want to put out? Like maybe a little bit too much thinking going on.
I see. There's a lot of self-doubt. You're more harsh on yourself now that you have a lot more experience.
Yeah, maybe. I don't.
How do you feel that for you, Runa? Like the do you feel that your age plays a role in how critical you are on your music, or is it? Do you think if you start younger, you're more like, oh, I'll just dive in and see what happens, or can you feel that feeling now?
I don't know if the age has any like, if it's affecting it in any way, but I'm still in the very early stages. That's how I see it. Like I don't see myself as having a lot of experience or knowledge when it comes to music, so it's all very new for me. So a lot of times I find myself just impulsively doing something with it, but although I'm not very good at production, like I just sometimes go with it, you know, like but there are also a lot of tracks that I haven't been happy with, so they will probably never end up online.
They're just your private diary vault.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Yeah, it's interesting that you're so in the finding out phase of that all. Yeah, and it's also an interesting topic to be busy with, because I think when you start younger, it's more like, oh, I mean, I think I also experienced it the other way around, though, like that you're too young to be taken serious in some way, like when you were playing in bands, and that you never got like, you were always like the young youth band, you know, instead of like the guys that were really on the stage. Yeah, but yeah, interesting thing.
So they were treating you like you were too. Just a second, I need to like restart. I think my recording stopped. Yeah. Okay.
All good.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So
we have another one.
Yeah. Let's do another one. Yeah. You want to read this one out, or any of you want to read this one out?
It's a. Okay. You go.
Yeah, you do it, Runa.
You can do one word after another. Make it a duet.
No, you go ahead, please.
Okay, this one is from Bree Eclectic. It's a compelling topic. This age group is a substantial market with more disposable income, and yet as musicians in this age group, we do not get to support the younger ones do. We do not get the support that younger ones do. There are many factors, but I am a singer-songwriter who joined my first band at 40. We just released an album and have been fortunate to book very regular gigs. I'm just happy to be doing what I love while I'm here, no matter my age.
Yeah.
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that this one has a bit more of like an approach where it's very much like I don't care what comes out of it because I love to do what I love to do while I'm on this planet. But I see that there is a substantial group there with money to maybe go to my gigs and stuff. So this is someone that feels to me very much like seeing the opportunities and want to make it grow in the sense of seriously pursuing the career, but also just loving what she's doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that interesting. How is that something you're busy with at this moment while you're finding this out? If there is an audience for your music in the way of like, oh, is this a group that has money to come to shows or things
For
like
me?
that? Or yeah,
I don't know. Like, I took it differently, I think. What I understood from it, maybe I misunderstood, but
no,
what
I'm curious. What did you see?
What I understood from it was somehow that that there's also like maybe I think I misread actually what he was trying to say, but what it got me to think was that there's also like a lot of people with a lot of potential and things to say that are in this age group but never get the chance to because they're not exactly encouraged to, you know. So there might be like a lot of artists who are over 30 or 40, but they probably could make like amazing music, but there's nobody there to back them or to encourage them or support them financially at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I find it an interesting one. I wonder why there is a feeling that young artists are more for it, like more in for success or more perceived as like
because they
getting
have a lot
that
of
support.
energy, you know, that drive in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can also imagine that if you're really young, that it's quite impressive if you have certain skills or get to touch people, or if you build up a certain skill set by a young age already, while you're not having that many years to build experience, but you already have quite a bit of it, if that makes sense. Yeah. I also
more impressive or something. Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's also very much about the story you build around your music, maybe, because I can imagine if you start only at 40, like if I read it like this, I just started when I was 40, we released an album and we are having regular gigs now, then I'm like, whoa, that's quite impressive, you know. So maybe just on the plain face it looks like young people are like getting that more support, but if I read something or if I know the story behind it, I'm definitely backing this a lot, because I'm like, whoa, that's quite impressive that you switched your approach around, that you found something new that you want to do. And so
I think that if someone is just loving what they do and they put stuff out that they love and just doing gigs, and then the people will just listen and come that love that as well. So it doesn't matter, I think, the age, or I know.
I
have
think
to
great
think
music
about
is great music no matter what age you are when you're writing it.
Agreed. I mean, then the question is just how do you get it heard, right? That's where the stuck is, or where the maybe it's only an assumption as well. Like if you start releasing more and get in touch more with, like,
I think whether you're younger or like starting later in life, you kind of have the same struggles right now with social media and having to market yourself. Because even if you're young, you still have to like get yourself seen or heard somehow.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
nowadays labels I mean, if your end goal would be to like get a with a label as a young artist, you would
Yeah.
still have to have like a certain following, sadly, because I've heard that's how labels, because that's what they were discussing at the music conference that I attended. Like somebody asked the question like, well, what should a independent artist do, or what does he have to like do to get noticed by a label, you know?
Yeah.
What are the things that he would have to like pursue? And
Yeah.
they basically said, well, sadly nowadays we look at people that have like a following, like
Yeah.
who have managed to like get younger people to listen to them and, you know, like love their music already, so they basically want you to do that for them, you know.
Yeah.
So when they sign you, you're already like gonna.
Yeah. Yeah. I work with labels quite a bit, and I think few things that play in there as well is that if you can make the younger generations now your super fans, as they grow up, the music that they grew up with will be nostalgic value, and they will also keep listening to that for a while. Um, yeah, there are multiple things. I think social media is like one of the like great cheap ways with the greatest way to measure how things react and stuff for like a relatively low budget. Also on the advertising front, but especially if you do things organically, you can literally see what people feel like about it, like pretty real
Yeah,
time and things like that. So yeah, I think that also definitely plays a role. Um, I yeah within like I work mostly within electronic music. Then I have some exceptions, but in the electronic music, you see like a lot of young ones, and there's such an it's quite a saturated
yeah,
field as well, and it's like especially because everybody can release things themselves, and yeah,
yeah,
I think that's definitely a thing. It's also getting through the noise, and I think your yeah with the age can also be a benefit starting later. I think if you build the story around it, so to say. Yeah, if that's the goal to grow with it, but that's the question in the first place, right? What's your goal with your music? Do you have an idea
I
where you
don't
want to
really
see this move
know.
in the next time, or
I don't really know, because when I started doing it, it was like mostly for myself, you know, like
yeah,
for my own enjoyment.
yeah,
So I wasn't really like thinking it through, like what's my long term, what am I looking for here? Is this like a long term thing, or like I
yeah,
don't know. I haven't like figured it out entirely.
yeah,
But it would be nice if I could get my music to be heard by like more people than it's currently being heard. Well, so I guess that's maybe my desire at the moment.
yeah. Well, I find it impressive and cool that you're so on this discovery journey, like finding out how the environment looks and stuff. Yeah, I find that very cool.
But also,
Um,
it's also like a learning experience for sure. Because
yeah.
I feel like the way that I make music is slowly changing with time. You know,
Hmm.
it's evolving.
Yeah.
So
In what ways did you notice
that's
that, for example?
well, when I first started, like I was too afraid to like do anything on my own when it came to the instrumental and stuff
Mm.
like that. So at first, I would only like think of like vocal melodies in my head, and I would write lyrics, and then I was like, well, how do I make it into a song now? Because I
Yeah.
still need like there's still more work to do here. And at first, I actually hired some people on Fiverr, you know, to help
Mm.
me like
Yeah.
structure it a bit. And then I just randomly like uh, found that Discord group that they encouraged me to try and attempt to make my own instrumental using like samples, well, not samples, but like sound libraries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just slowly I bought myself like a MIDI keyboard, although I don't really like know how to play it very well at the moment.
But you do play it.
But I sometimes like contribute to my tracks with it occasionally.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm starting to like, I find it interesting when I layer sounds from other people's sound libraries, and just it feels all very like organic and like random somehow, because it's just like playing around with stuff, and you never know what it's gonna turn out to be.
Yeah, I like the magic of that. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So
Yeah. All right, cool. Do you maybe have one of the threads that really stood out for you that we can still mention? I don't know if you have anything that you really took out, or like one of the comments that you really remember that was standing out for you a lot.
I don't know. There were a lot of people who like switched careers along the way. I think I've seen a lot of stories where they started out doing something, they went to school for completely like into a different field or anything like, and then later on they just realized that what they really love doing is music, and even though they cannot afford to, there's a lot of people out there who, even though they cannot afford to like leave their jobs or anything, but they're still somehow pursuing it. They're still somehow like trying to get their music out there. There's a lot of people like that, and I really can relate. I can relate with that, because for me as well, like I'm not at the moment able to support myself with music, and there's a lot of independent artists that are struggling with that thing, but it's still like not enough of a, I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
It's not like a reason to stop,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I had this a couple of years ago too, that I like did like worked a job that I didn't like, and then I tried to starting to tone it down and find something that I did like, and now I'm like teaching music and
That's nice.
DJing to people. So it's still in the spaces of the music realm.
Yeah.
And I do also shooting videos for just people I know, and just
that's great.
Doing all the creative stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do that. Like they are trying to find like something else in the music industry that can fill that financial void, while still making music. So
yeah, it also keeps me motivated to for my own making my own music, or playing guitar, I'm getting a student that makes this kind of music, and I'm like, oh, that's nice, I didn't thought about that, and I try to incorporate it myself. Or you get also inspired from people that just starting out, so that's also really cool to see.
You're also basically like touching other people's lives, because you're teaching and you're interacting with other people who are doing music, so that's great.
And you get also the like that little flame also back when you just started, like not that that I lost it, but that little bit, that new feeling that when you see somebody, when I'm like trying to show how something works, and like, oh, can you make this with it? Whoa, that's nice. And I'm like, oh, okay. The enthusiasm, the first enthusiasm is really nice to see when people have that.
Cool.
When they're learning, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also cool because you really see then that you, like, apart from the age in it, that you need the different levels of experience, because someone with more experience can support and motivate the people that are starting out or not that experienced, but those people are also keeping the more experienced motivated with new stuff and new ideas, and so it's like the synergy of the different experience levels instead of like that age matters. But it's cool that you can all learn from each other and like
they keep me also in a sense fresh and young. So so you get they feed each other.
You learn from each other basically.
Exactly. Cool. All right, that's cool. I was wondering, like, after you went through all the threads and all the comments, and were quite a lot, I can imagine you took something away from it that changed your opinion a bit, maybe, about the age thing, if you should worry about it or not. So if you should name like one key takeaway from the comments, what would it be for you?
Well, I actually wasn't expecting for so many stories that would actually serve as encouragement for me. Like, I was sure there were gonna be like a lot of people, you know, like telling their stories of how they actually dealt with it, and like how it badly impacted their career or something. Like I was actually ready for that side of the question. You know, I was expecting more negative responses as well. There were a few, you know, there were one or two, or there were a few who were like not as optimistic about making music when you're older. But I found a lot of good energy, a lot of positive energy from all the stories that I read. So it really like it really helped me.
That's amazing.
So
yeah, it's cool that you are kind of hoping to find something, but that you're already expecting a bit that it might not be the case, but that it then still is there, what you hope to look for. That's really cool. Cool. All right. I think we're already chatting for a while, but I think it was a really really interesting one to go through some of the comments and hear your opinions on it, and especially because it's your journey in finding it out. You put something out there, and it's great to hear that you found what you were looking for in that sense. So yeah, that was really nice. So I definitely want to thank you for jumping by and saying yes to the invite.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. We'll definitely be in touch on that. And I want to, before we go, just as a it's apparently the thing you do when you post YouTube videos, but I want to ask for people to subscribe to the channel because it helps us to spread the message and spotlight more artists, but we also plant a tree for every follower. So the next tree planting investment is in 2 weeks exactly from now. So every follower would help to reforest this planet. And that was my marketing talk for today. So
Okay.
Anyone else want to say some last words? Shout out to the moms. Or
Well, I really enjoyed this talk, and I'm really happy that you guys asked me to join you, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for inviting me.
No worries. Yeah, again, like, thanks for coming by, and we'll be in touch for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also really nice to just meet new people and that want to join the community and or just talk and just getting to know each other and share some thoughts and share some music.
Exactly. Good vibes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, and see you all later.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.